What scares you as an adult that didn't bother you as a kid? A tooth falling out. As a kid it was gross, funny and painful all at once. As an adult, horrifying. My dentist said that a couple of my teeth are a little mobile. Then he said it's nothing to really worry about. As if hearing teeth and mobile in the same sentence is ever good. Underrated comment. Scariest thing in this thread. I chipped a tooth like 2 years ago and I was sick to my stomach about it for an irrationally long time. Picked up a piece of candy out of a dish at work in February. I thought it was spree hearts. They were heart-shaped everlasting gobstoppers. Chipped a tooth and spent a week in a cloud of depression about how effing stupid I had been. Dentist said it's NBD, but I still hate myself about it. Signs of aging. When you're a kid, getting older means new and exciting changes. When you're in your 30s plus, it means far less fun things. I don't really sweat the cosmetic ones. I just try to think about the first lines to show up on my face were the ones you get from laughing. That feels right to me. The tendons in my legs not bouncing back from a walk or run. That I could do without. Other people's driving. I can barely sit through a car ride with my dad now without grabbing the OSH bar. I felt that for a long time after driving for many years. But I recently realized I just don't trust other people's judgments on what to do in situations. Yup, I volunteer to drive most times because I truly just only trust myself. And something about me just wanting myself in the driver's seat if an accident was about to happen. I can barely concentrate on anything when I'm in the passenger seat. Jumping down from a height greater than a few feet. As a kid I could jump off a roof and roll with it. Nowadays if I land funny I fear I'll be paralyzed for life. When I was 13, my brother and I jumped from our roof onto the trampoline. Now I get into a seated position on the truck tailgate before sliding off the remaining 6 inches. And yet I still need to let out a moan and groan when I do even that. I remember challenging friends at school to see how many stairs we could jump down. The thought fills me with dread now. Imagine landing with your heel on the last step, or your knee going sideways. Traveling in a car, especially if I'm not the one driving. I never used to be like that until I passed my test. Now I feel myself putting my foot down on an imaginary brake when in the passenger seat. My parents' mortality. I've already done the please don't die before I get to the hospital plane flight. Thankfully that was not the case. For now, this one is kind of weird for me but completely true. Because when you are a child, you see for parents' mortality as something so far away and that eventually you will be prepared. But is never the case. Recently my grandmother died after a long disease and what it struck me the most was the reaction from my mom. She said no somos nada, we are nothing. She was devastated and then it comes to my mind. One day I would be the one on her shoes and she will be on the coffin. The hard part is that is the best result. That you bury your parents not the other way around. My mom's mom died when I was a toddler at a funeral for someone else when I was an adult. My mom said if she knew how painful losing her mom was going to be, she wouldn't have had kids. You're never too old to want your mom. Head injuries. As a kid, I thought broken bones were the big thing to worry about, because I could visualize what that was. I had no sense for the severity of brain injuries. As an adult, protecting my noggin is my #1 injury concern. Because the human machine don't work with a damaged processor. Everything that you are and respect is contained in this tiny dome. One false move and you can become a monster to your peers, or a burden to your loved ones. It's pretty scary to consider that. This is actually something I've dealt with to an extent. I busted my head in a weird ice skating incident. Pretty badly concussed. The people close to me around that time said I completely changed as a person following that. Lost a lot of friends. I only have very faint memories from before, and rely on others to jog my memory a bit. I consider myself lucky to not be worse, but I can't help but wonder how I'd react if I could somehow meet myself before that. Also I didn't have ADHD before, but I do now. That's fun mayo. I had no fear of U-Hauls until I rented a U-Haul. I filled out all of my information online and they gave me the keys to a 27-foot box truck. No training, no anything. They'll just let anyone take these massive vehicles and drive them off the lot. Give them a wide berth. I reserved a small U-Haul. I think the 10 feet a few weeks in advance. Get there. Sorry, we don't have any of those. We only have 26 feet trucks left. Fuck. I was driving a 2-door coupe and had never driven anything bigger than a small SUV. I had to drive it through 2 cities. Scared the crap out of me the entire time. Yup, kinda crazy. And those folks that drive the giant bus-sized RVs? Same thing. Truck and bus drivers, they know what they are doing, they have training. Rental trucks and giant RVs? I'll get as far away from you as possible. It's also often old people who buy these giant RVs as well around here. Better safe than sorry. Lack of time. As a kid, felt like I had all the time in the world. As an adult, I feel like I have no time to do anything other than work. Taking away the moments that make up a dull day. Yes, I've been made aware that it's ticking, thanks guys. I played a bluegrass rendition of this song for a couple friends. They said the lyrics were really powerful and asked what song it was. When I told them Pink Floyd, they immediately dismissed the song as stupid hippish. This is what me and my bud was talking about. Even in college, it felt like time was infinity. Wake up 6 AM, change, catch the bus to the gym, work out for 1 hour and a half, shower at the gym, catch the bus to school, 8 o'clock morning class, 2, 3, 4 classes, have time to hang out with friends, then study, then go have a snack at the cafeteria, walk back library, study, then catch the bus and then change to hang with friends, then shower, eat and still have time to chit chat at the end of the day. WTF. My biggest fear is that I'll end up requiring care by others when I grow older. I'd rather die before that. Also being stuck in my country and forced to live a mediocre life. I just turned 32 and I've been basically paraplegic for 4 years and it's awful. I wish I would just die. I feel like an anchor around the necks of everyone I love. They would mourn but then they could just live their lives instead of carrying me around. I turned 63 this year and I've been a paraplegic for 40 years. I wish I could tell you it gets better. It doesn't. We get to have all the problems of aging and the problems of paraplegia. The only thing you can change is your attitude. When I found out back in 1980 that I'd never walk again, I cried, then dried my face and decided to get on with it. F it. I'll do what I can with what I got. Best wishes on life's endeavors. They will miss you. They will. My disabled stepdaughter died a few months ago. Now we can go out without worrying who will watch her. We don't have to call off work when she's ill again. And we would suffer all the inconveniences 1,000 times over if it meant we could keep her in our lives. My fiancé is a quadriplegic. I have known him for almost 3 years and have lived with him for 2 years. He was paralyzed when he was 23 and is now 45. Please don't give up. He is the most amazing man that I've ever known. And I would have missed out on so much in life if he weren't around. He struggled for several years after his accident but found help in counseling. Please know how much you are loved, and you are not a burden to those who love you. Getting out of bed in the morning after you slept in the wrong position. Me. It's nice to finally get 8 hours of sleep. My body. Lol, but you did it wrong. I slept wrong on the floor a couple months ago and it took me 3 weeks to recover. For like 4 days in the middle I had to crawl to the bathroom, my lower back hurt so bad. Never again. Needing help or advice. I'm a grown adult now, 34, and my mom and dad have since passed on. When I run into a problem with an appliance or a home repair or need help with a recipe, it always takes me a minute to remember they aren't here anymore. Really sucks having no one to lean on when things get hard. My mom used to just give me $100 without question when I'd be hard up for money. No more bank of mom. If I run out of money now I'm just F-ed until payday. Garage door springs. Butterflies. I don't get it either. Oh. And teenagers. I think everybody's scared of teenagers. Even teenagers. This is probably true. The different breeds of teen fear each other, while the rest of us fear them all. Teenagers scare the living shot out of me. Honestly, death. Never really thought about it as a kid. Think about it way too much as an adult. How easily your life can start going downhill. Honestly, just getting older. I'm only 36 but I just don't want to be an old person. I fear my daughter is already starting to see me that way, but I do everything I can to fight it. One disc in my back is permanently injured from a car wreck 12 years ago. One knee is bad from playing with a nephew 14 years ago. I want to be the strong hero my daughter needs as she grows up, but I fear these will really catch up to me in the coming years. Roller coasters. I used to ride them all summer long because I had a Flags summer pass. I went a few years ago with my younger sister. It wasn't fun anymore. I just kept feeling like I was going to die. I ended up holding purses and keeping my feet on the ground. I never understood why my mom would just wait for me, but I get it now. Anything related to going to the hospital. When I was a kid, I was always in the emergency room with a deep cut or broken bone. Now that I realize it isn't as free as I thought it was when I was a kid, I'll make any excuse to not go to the hospital. Case in point, my wife, before we were married, went to the ER with severe abdominal pains and found out she had an infection in her gallbladder, so they removed it. Her hospital bill, because she went out of network and had an ER visit, was over $80,000. Meanwhile, I probably would have just died because I would have crunched down 100 Imodium before visiting the hospital. I'm a doctor and I avoid the hospital at all costs. Luckily I can do a lot of the repairs myself, but I almost tore my brother a new one when he went to the ER for stitches. Ridiculously overpriced, I should say as well. Let's say you go to the ER for stitches, your bill will probably be $1,500. You know how much the staff who actually cared for you will see of that? Probably about $300 split between all the providers you come face to face with. It's bananas. This is effing sad, man. I can't imagine paying for going to the hospital. Anesthesia. As a kid, I was led to believe that it was something magical that happened to you when you got your tonsils out, and then afterwards, you could eat all the ice cream you wanted. Now that I've had it as an adult and know that there's always a possibility it could go horribly wrong, I get really antsy and scared just thinking about it. The best sleep I ever had was because of anesthesia. I'm not sure I'd mind too much if I never woke up from a sleep that good. After all, so far as I would be concerned, it's just endless sleep. But then again, I don't have family counting on me, so. Owning a home. I am only slightly exaggerating when I say that I wake up every day fully expecting some new and expensive catastrophe to unfold. I was crazy on bicycles when I was a kid. I'd jump anything, anywhere, on a little tiny bike, crashing spectacularly like we all did in the 70s. Now, I have a bike with suspension that rivals a motocross bike, and this very bike can handle obstacles that off-road trucks might have issues with, and I ride around never leaving the earth, with a helmet, and enough other stuff on I can literally play football. I used to love flying as a kid. Then, when I was late teens young adult, I was on a particularly turbulent flight 4 hours over the ocean and thought we were going to crash. 4 years after that, I couldn't fly without anxiety. I didn't want to look out the window. I'd close my eyes and mutter through turbulence, etc. Then, inexplicably, I chose a career as a flyer in the Air Force. That helped to get me over my fear of flying pretty well. Financial emergency 100%. When you're a kid you don't think about things like this. You could be off of work due to injury for 2 months and lose everything you worked hard for, even if you were doing everything right financially. The final realization that the path you're on, career, wife, skills, friends, will be the one you travel until retirement. It's like, welp, only 30 years to go. This is my life now. As I age closer to my 30s, this one scares me more than most. This isn't just some video game where I can start over and pick another path. There are only so many places I can live, people I'll know, or career paths that I can go down. All I can try now is get one that will make this little existence somewhat meaningful to fill the void. Deep water. I learned to swim in it by essentially jumping into a pool on holiday as all the other kids were in the pool and didn't want to be left out. Now for some reason, if I'm in water and it reaches my chest, I'm struck by an absolute rising sense of dread. My breathing gets shallow and I feel so uneasy and upset I have to get into shallower water to be calm again. The fact that our leaders don't really know what they are doing and that they use their position for self-benefit. The older I get, the more I realize that very few people have a clue of how to actually do their job, raise a family, or simply being a good member of society. I'm in my mid-20s, almost done with medical school, and I don't think I will be mentally or financially ready to raise kids until I'm in my 30s. My parents had us when they just turned 20. Like WTF. They had no idea how to raise kids. They probably just winged that shit, and I'm just thankful they didn't irreversibly F me up. Or the George Carlin quote about thinking how stupid the average person is. and then realizing that half of the population is even dumber than that. How it's baffling that our unemployment rate is 5% and that somehow almost all of those people have jobs and that someone somewhere thought, yeah, I'll hire this person. They seem like they're more qualified than everyone else. The implication being that more than half of the workforce isn't as good at their job as they could be, and that a huge portion of the world is ran by complete idiots. Not to mention how uneducated the average person is when it comes to civic duties like voting. Compared to the average Joe, I think I probably read way more news articles, history books, and discuss things with my best friend who is a US politics professor, and I still feel like I'm uneducated when it comes to voting for the right candidate.